Hello, Twitch and or YouTube. Let's start some TypeScript-ESLint maintenance. Today I'm going to be doing a lot on the website, perhaps only stuff on the website, which is good because documentation is always useful for people. To start, I'm going to look at this TypeScript-ESLint issue pull request. That was filed a few days ago. And the first part of every review, wrong account, is to look at Twitter and post what I'm doing. First up, someone, Jimsu 2012, Yimathisu, sent a PR that, what does this do? That makes the playground code editor horizontally resizable. Oh, that's actually really good. Playground editor horizontally resizable. This is great because I've been wanting this for a little while and finally got around to filing an issue. If you are super zoomed in, like I am on the stream right now, and let me go ahead and post these links in the chat. Here's the pull request, and here's a link to the playground. The problem is this doesn't give you the option to resize it. There's no way to drag this around. So if you have var hello equals true, all sorts of other stuff, it's kind of annoying. Here we go. So you might not care about your TypeScript issues quite so much. You might only care about, say, looking at the code for a little bit, which means that I want to be able to resize the pane that contains the editor. And if you look at the deploy preview, you see that this now lets you resize the editor. Awesome, yay. So if I copy stuff over, let's just take a look. That's unfortunate. Oh, I guess that's already, pity there's no padding between those, but that's okay, no margin. Anyway, that's the pull request I'm going to start looking at today. And I will note, if you have any questions about this, TypeScript-ESLint, anything in all the world, please let me know. I'm always happy to chat with folks. Just post them in the chat. Happy to answer and talk. All right. I did previously review an earlier version of this pull request that implemented dragging on its own. I also don't know why this person approved it looking at the patches diff because they're not saying anything. And lastly, website test failing is unrelated. Yep, we have Flake on our main branch with our website tests. We have never been able to figure out how to get Circle CI or now GitHub Actions to be stable with Cypress. It's really annoying. If you have any idea how to help us stabilize our end-to-end tests, please do. Yeah, annoying. Anyway, let's take a look at the code. Yay. What do I have open? Boop. Code, TypeScript-ESLint. Here we go. You can ignore whatever I was doing before. Check out main, git pull upstream main because I'm working on a branch. I'm trying out my terminal on the right side in VS Code for a bit. We'll see how I like it. GHPR checkout paste. Freaking love that command so much. It's so good. And all right, let's look at the diff. Files changed. React split pane actually hasn't been super maintained a lot recently. Last published was 2 years ago, August 2020, which is a little unfortunate. But it's a really nice module, and I've used it before. We actually used it at Codecademy. So, The only problem there, other than the fact that it's kind of old and maybe not maintained, is that it still has a dependency on React 16, not React 18. So React is 18 now. Anyway, they made some changes to playground.module.css and playground.tsx. Oh boy, playground.tsx is a chunker. And splitPaneResize.css, a new file. Also, loaded editor, for some reason, needs to know that its size has been changed. Okay. What is editor/types? And that's about it. Oh, and we have to patch the React split pane module to add in children props because there was this whole thing. It's a breaking change in the React community types where they no longer add children as an explicit prop, or implicit prop rather, to the types for React.fcs. We go to no? Okay. Well, anyway, let's take a look. Why is the playground? Oh, I have to yarn. That's why my React split pane is yelling at me. And that's why I couldn't go to its indexed ETS file, because I didn't actually install it yet. Okie dokie. By the way, I'll repeat since I have a few new visitors. Hello, welcome. I posted in the chat the pull request I'm looking at. It's a fun addition to the site, the TypeScript-ESLint.io site that lets the editor be resizable. Well, what happened there? That's not what I expected, but okay. And if you have any questions on this or TypeScript-ESLint or anything at all, please do let me know. I'm always happy to talk about things, answer any questions, career advice, developer commentary, hot takes. All right. Am I done? I'm done installing. Yep, I'm just going to move panel to bottom because this looks all weird on the right side. All right. Split pane props now has to include manual children. That's good. Okie dokie. All right. Playground.tsx is the big friend, 200 lines or so, that contains a whole bunch of stuff. I'm going to fold all because I haven't looked at this in a while and try to read through the playground components. It stores a bunch of pieces of state, the ESLint AST or abstract syntax tree, the TypeScript AST, scope, I don't know what that is. I don't know what these all do. Is loading, can kind of imagine what that does. The versions of TypeScript that I believe this is for which versions have been loaded. The current selected range, the current position in the editor, which tab is active, which is either your code, your tsconfig, or ESLint config, whether we're showing a modal of any of those or false, and editor dragging, whether the editor is currently dragging. Why do we have this? Ooh, a first question. Thank you for asking. I've been a backend developer for 10 years with some small front-end projects. Would it be a good idea to attempt to learn JavaScript or TypeScript, or is it too late at this point? That is a great question. I'm going to turn myself down as I'm so enthusiastic. Yes, it is not too late. It is a good idea. I think it is never too late to learn new things. People have been programming for decades that I've seen switch into backend or into front end. The common principles between backend and front end aren't all the same. There are some things like data structures and algorithms, areas that are relevant only to backend or only to front end or mostly to one of those. But a lot of the core principles are the same. Things like understanding clean code, separation of concerns, solid principles, those still are relevant in the front end and the back end. So yeah, Infamous Matt 44, highly recommend. If you want to switch, go ahead and do it. I think there's no better time than the present. As for learning JavaScript and or TypeScript, in case there's a follow-up question there, I definitely recommend learning JavaScript first. I find it difficult and have seen other people have difficulties in learning more than one major area of things at a time. So my general recommendation is to learn JavaScript first, get a little comfortable with it, and then once you're somewhat beginner to intermediate in JavaScript, if you want to learn TypeScript, then go ahead. So TLDR, not too late at all. Absolutely a good idea. Ha! What about JavaScript has vexed you, out of curiosity? If it's not for you, it's not for you. Like, everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses and preferences, and if it doesn't match your preferences, then such is life. I'm gonna turn on my air conditioner. Also, while you're answering, shout out to hydration, the concept. One should always stay hydrated. I keep a jug of water by my desk because otherwise I will forget to drink water. Good stuff. All right. While this is happening, I'm going to look into this a little bit more. The change added what? What did it add to the playground? It added editor dragging and a use effect. But why do we need this editor dragging state? Why do we care about this? Ooh, I think I worked on it with much earlier browsers and got overwhelmed. I should try again with more modern browsers. At this point, it is more about motivation, I guess. Also, +1 to water. Yes, thank you for the +1. Yeah, JavaScript is very different now than it was back in the day. Also, browsers are very different now versus how they were back in the day. Yeah. The way we write web apps and front-end apps in general is a lot nicer now. So if you had a lot of painful experiences back in the day, I would definitely encourage you, if you have the time, energy, and desire, to try to clear the mind and come in fresh, because it's a lot nicer now. All right. So this editor dragging piece of state that we've set up in our React component, which starts as false. Fun fact, you don't need to explicitly use type parameters. It can infer, okay, you pass in false, so the generic is false. So this is only used in one place, loading editor's size changed prop, which is the new prop type we added in common editor props. So what happens if I just stop passing that in? Let's go to loaded editor. Loaded editor, size changed. And I get rid of it. And oh, interesting. I think I see and understand this pattern. But first, I'm gonna, on my end, light a scented candle. My air conditioning has this annoying thing where it makes the room smell. No matter how many times I clean it, it is still making the room smell. And I'm glad I'm moving in 10 days to somewhere with better AC. Shout out, my wife got me these adorable little cocktail candles. This one smells like espresso martini. Good stuff. All right, so the pattern here for loaded editor is whenever size changes, as in it is a dependency of the useEffect hook, we call the resize function, which is a memo of telling the sandbox instance.editor.layout to occur. What does that mean? It means that this sandbox instance, which is, what is this? Where does this come from? What? Why is there no sandbox instance prop? Well, in general, the way, whatever's happening, I don't know. The way this playground works is we use an editor called Monaco on the inside. Monaco is a very familiar editor to many because it is the editor in VS Code. So if you type in F1, you might recognize some of these commands, sort lines, ascending, etc. Monaco isn't actually built for the React declarative paradigm. It's got a little bit more imperative of an API. Things like editor.layout.resize or whatnot, functions you call. Which is a little unfortunate when you have to use it in a React app. So what we found is that when you're using Monaco, you have to sometimes manually call things like, what is it? Sandbox instance.editor.layout to manually resize the thing. Loading editor is complaining that size changed is a required prop, so I'm going to comment that out. So just to show what happens if we don't add the size changed. Oh, I forgot to yarn start, so I don't have this running locally. Here we go. Doo-doo. All right, we got the playground. Here we go. Zoom in a little bit. Yep, so because I removed this, there's a loading screen. Because I removed the size changed indicator, the loaded editor does not know to resize its contents whenever the drag finishes, which is a little unfortunate. All right. And this editor dragging piece of state is a Boolean, true or false. So whenever it starts dragging or stops dragging, we pass a different value to the loaded editor, which in theory should cause the resize. Now, I actually have a bit of a gripe with this. I feel like I don't want to have to manually tell the loaded editor that that its contents have changed. It feels weird to me. Now we have two places where dragging happens. We have, or sorry, where you should resize logic happens. One is this use effect just below here that adds an event listener on for resize to the window. And then we also have this prop size changed, which flips to true and false. It causes the layout when you start or stop dragging. Yeah, so we have this add event listener mouse up and remove listener mouse up. Now this is actually slightly wrong. We're going to mouse, whenever we mouse up, we resize, which is not quite. I mean, that's, I guess it won't cause any bugs, but if you like click somewhere on the left menu or something, it'll cause a mouse up to happen. Also, when do we set editor dragging true? Oh, on drag started. Here we go. So you may notice if we add this stuff back, undo all of the, or actually I'll just go back to the preview environment. On the preview environment with my changes not added, notice how it only resizes when the drag is finished. Like while my mouse is still moving around, the resize doesn't trigger. So that's a little bit of a visual bug. So what I'm going to do is, just to try this out locally, I'm going to remove this size changed prop altogether. I'm going to remove the set editor dragging true. And by the way, I will note that this PR is fantastic. I'm not intentionally pooping all over it. I mean, we could ship this as is and it would be great. So I'm trying to see if I can optimize this a little bit to be a little cleaner, but like I might fail, which would explain why the PR, has it as is. Or I might succeed, and then I might not even block on it. It might say, hey, if you have time, this would be great. Otherwise, we can do this as a follow-up. Because I don't want to block really good features on me going, well, actually, it would be slightly better if. No one wants to work with a person like that. All right. So what I'm going to suggest is I think we should use a mutation observer or DOM observer. And I forget the actual API. I know what numbers. What is the name of the API? Mutation observer or resize observer? What I want to do is use some DOM API that looks at the actual container elements and calls the resize layout function whenever that layout changes. Because I feel like I'd rather just have this element, this component, know that whenever its size in the DOM changes, it should imperatively tell the Monaco editor to resize. So, yep, resize observer. By the way, shout out in the chat. I haven't seen too many uses of resize observer or mutation observer. I would love to know if any of you have used this thing before, either of them. So, just looking through, we have a bunch of element queries, resize observer. It's a new resize observer entries. Okay, apparently Firefox implements it differently. That's great. But what is? Aha, here we go. Resize observer.observe divel. So resize observer takes in an element, or rather, its constructor takes in a function to run, and it also then the instance has an observe method. So that's nice. I can observe or unobserve things. Okay. Now what I want to see is, does this loaded editor yet have a ref to the DOM elements? Oh boy, there's a lot of code here. I really dislike working with multi-hundred line functions. I feel like it always gets hard. But I'm gonna fold all my nice little trick so I can, oh man, what? Scan them over, but it returns null. So where does it actually create anything? And I have to look in the left then, the unfolded view. So decorations, code actions, these are all pieces of states. Update markers, use effects. This first one plays around with TypeScript or TSX settings. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm trying to find the thing that actually creates the DOM element. Aha, sandbox instance. Here we go. Oop, sandbox. Oh, I was looking at that before. Where did this come from? Whatever. All right, so sandbox instance dot, what is this? What type is this? This is a sandbox instance, which is create TypeScript sandbox, which is this DTS that returns. It has a config, a list of supported versions. That's cool. The Monaco editor instance, blah, and a whole bunch of other stuff. All right. Well, let's go back to this sandbox instance dot editor dot. Is there like a element DOM? Get DOM node. Aha. Returns the editor's DOM node. Nice. So out of curiosity, does anyone else get DOM node? Does anyone else look at the DOM at all in this file? Element? No? Okay. All right. So I can say const DOM node equals sandbox instance editor get DOM node, and then use effect. So whenever the DOM node changes, if there is a DOM node, then I will to do this as a comment, to do observe, else. Is there anything to do? I don't know. So I'm going to say const resize observer equals new resize observer, but we want to memo it. I'll explain this in just a bit. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying I want a new resize observer, and whenever, instead of just saying equals new resize observer, I don't want to create a new one each time this component gets run. I want to memoize it based on, well, I could memoize it based on the DOM node, but I guess I don't really need to. Well, let's take a look. All right, so we return new resize observer, which, what does it actually do when it resizes? I want to call resize. Where is the actual resize function? I'm just gonna move all this junk down here. All right. And inside resize observer, so I just pass it resize. That's cool. And then if there is a DOM node, resize observer dot observe DOM node. There's probably a bug here somewhere with something. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I'm missing something, but whatever, this is fine. Anyway, if we go back to my local host, nope, nothing's happening. Great. All right. I'm gonna start debugging. Resize observer, callback fired. And let's pass in some args. Running, use effect on node, DOM node. So whenever the DOM node from the sandbox instance changes, and whenever the resize observer triggers its resize callback, we should get a nice little console log. And neither happened. Am I... What? Is the loaded editor even here? That component isn't even on the screen right now. That explains it. All right. What component is this? Oh, editor embed? What? Editor embed. Rendered by Playground. Browser only. Play. So wait a second. I'm just looking at the wrong editor. There's loading editor. Aha. If the state is showing the... Nope, that's the AST view, which is on the right. Okay. So loading editor returns loaded editor. That's not what I'm looking at. Looking at loaded editor. I swear. Sometimes I feel like I'm such an advanced engineer, and then sometimes I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. All right, let's just, am I even in the right area? Hello. Let's add an alert. Okay, so that runs. That's good. And we've got split pane. That's the new pane thingy that they were adding. So we got the one on the left and then the pane on the right. All right, editor tabs. Tabs equals code config. All right, so that's, aha, editor embed. What? Oh, there's an editor embed ID. This rings a bell. Where's that used? All right, so use sandbox service. Oh my God. Use sandbox services. All right, I'm getting myself confused here. So this is a hook. This rings a bell. I think I've edited this code before. This is a hook that's used in services, which are the props passed to the loaded editor. Got it. So using sandbox services, console log, this should console log on the page. There we go. It did, yay. All right, which is actually interesting because we have a DOM node here, DOM ID. Or I guess that's just what's passed to the sandbox factory. What is sandbox factory? Whatever, that's some Monaco thing. Hey. What I don't understand is why is my loaded editor not happening? We use sandbox services, which creates a bunch of props that are passed in loading editor. What services do we got? Got services. Nice little tip here, if you use the array, the object brackets around something, it creates an object with that as a key and value. It's a little nice thing for debugging. Services gives an error. lintutils.creator. Oh my god. What? lintutils.createLinter is not a function. Is that new? If I go to the prod website, use sandbox services, see if I can find this in the code. Of course not. The prod website is super minified. God, there's no way I can find whether that's actually working. Oh boy. Well, I'll just look. What is this? lintutils.createLinter. What is that? Hey. lintutils is what is this? What is what? Why am I going so deep into code for this? Why do I have to learn these things? There's a web linter. Oh, you know what? Oh my god. This whole shebang is because I didn't yarn build. What? That was fast. Maybe it wasn't because I didn't yarn build. I'm looking at a whole bunch of like different components and I'm wondering, oh no, it's still not working. Well, this is unfortunate. I hate life sometimes. Let's see if I can pause on the exception. All right, here we go. Oh my word. Oh, these are, okay, here we go. Yeah, I don't know what any of this is. And I don't have the energy to investigate when source maps aren't working. So the problem is my my website sandbox services, which are the things that enable linting in the sandbox in the editor, are broken locally, which makes it quite difficult to test the changes that I wanted to try out. So you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and make a suggestion on the PR without actually trying it out locally. There's already logic in the loaded editor component that calls its resize function on window resize. Now with this effect and state, there are two places that could indicate to resize. But I think the root of, how do I phrase this? But I think this is making the component, I think this is making the component more complicated than it needs to be. Instead of having multiple places check individual root causes for a resize, dragging the mouse, resizing the window, etc. Individual DOM-based root causes. What about using a resize observer? Copy that over to inside loaded editor, so it knows to resize whenever its DOM node changes. That way we don't, couple benefits. We don't need to add more global listeners. A few benefits actually. Ad hoc. It'll know to resize on any change, including, so it'll keep resizing nicely as you move the drag mouse around. And it won't false. We can, I guess that's fine. Yeah, a couple benefits. You can try this as a follow-up. IMO doesn't need to block this PR, but it's very much a nice to have. Okie dokie. Moving on. I will again remind / call out folks in the chat. If you want to ask or talk about anything, let me know. I'm happy to chat. This is a really cute line of code, by the way. I really like this. This is clever. Nice. The initial size, the default rather size for the split pane is 20 rem, and then the maximum is, I'm guessing max size must be in pixels. So they get computed style the font size, the root font size, and parse it. That's kind of cute. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Let's look at this. This is the playground on prod when it's super zoomed in. How zoomed in are we? 175%. This is playground here, zoomed in 100. Ooh, that's a bug. So when you zoom in the playground 175%, you want to get rid of that preview. The split pane needs to go away, or it should automatically go away. Ta-da! Where's that first split pane? By the way, in case it wasn't clear, the way the split panes are set up for this playground is that there are two splits. There's a split here between the options and the rest of the playground. Ooh, I can't drag that. That's, oh, okay. And then there's, inside the rest of the playground, there's another split. This is a pretty common pattern with React split pane. Ta-da! Bug. On smaller mobile viewports, the options become a toggle side menu that overlays that overlays the screen when the menu button is clicked. The left pane should respect that. What is this actually a screenshot of? If we go to 175%, we see that the options area is empty. You can repro this at 175% zoom with a blank left column. Cool. Bug. Another bug I'm noticing is when this is folded in, these should, I don't know, these should be a little more responsive. Like we could make these have flexible width. Actually, let me just see if I can mess around with the DOM to see what that would look like. Is there like a fixed width on these or something? Like why are these not flexing nicely? If I remove the padding, are they happy? No. If I remove padding here, are they happy? No. Why are these so wide? I'm just looking through the styles. Let's go to computed. Is width specified? No. Is width specified here? Yes, it is. Oops. Where is width specified? 50%. So, what? Why are these labels? Width 100%? 70px. So the width here is 100%. Why? With 20 rem. There we go. Much better. So if it was on this options thin scroll bar thing. Options thin scroll, options, come on. And there we go, thin dash scroll bar. If I remove with 20 rem, this becomes nice and responsive. Which brings up a question of why did we have that in the first place? Let me get rid of it locally. First, let me get rid of a whole bunch of stuff. If I remove 20 rem, that style, and then look back at my local version. Nice. That actually looks good to me. Zoom in a few times. Oops, zoomed in too much, caused the bug. All right, this is great. So I'm just gonna go ahead and bug report. Boop. I wonder where I should put this. Yeah, I'll just put it here. Bug report. The options should be responsive when their pane is shrunk. There's a lot of space, horizontal space that could be shrunk. That can collapse as needed. Tried removing the width 20 rem from options, and that seems to not break anything. Screenshot of the playground with options being shrunk without collapsing white space. So options overflow horizontally. Yay! All right, back to the playground. Yeah, this looks good otherwise. This makes me happy. Everything is awesome. Now just let's keep going through the code then, because I wanted to see what else there is. It looks like they haven't changed much in the playground. They've just changed the indentation, so the get diff is all unhappy. So I'm going to mark playground as viewed. Package.json is viewed also. Playground module has some CSS changes. This is fine. Adding a z-index to the AST viewer. Actually, I'm kind of curious, what does that do? This is line 37 of playground module. Oops. 37. Okay, so they're giving explicit z-indices to what? So there already was an explicit z-index on the code container. Why is it now on the AST viewer? What happens if I get rid of that? Enable the AST viewer. This looks good. Why don't we like this? Or why is this changed? Flipping back to the production website, this looks the same to me. So I don't know why that line is added. So I will ask in the pull request. I had this. I tried moving it locally and nothing bad happened. Couldn't find anything, or didn't see anything bad as a result. I don't want to indicate that definitely nothing happened, just I didn't see anything bad. All right, playground module CSS is done. Now we see split pane resize.css. This is a large file. This smells to me of something that has been copy and pasted. it doesn't match the general vibe of the code base. Like, it has capital names for classes. It's using some old prefixes like Moz box sizing that aren't needed. And I want to know, like, who... Aha. So it was added... Oh, yeah, I think I remember seeing this at the top of playground.tsx. Yep. So what happens if I just remove it? Does the split pane stuff not have good styles? See, it's got that nice little mouse cursor change and the graying out. And I'm gonna have to make a new tab. I'm hitting a Chrome bug. Is this even working? Let's put it back in. What have I done? Discard all changes, refresh. Okay. So we can see that it seems like I can't get resizing working unless we have this new added CSS file. I'm guessing there's like a width resizer. Okay. So if I change this to like a 50px width for this resizer.vertical, I'm betting, oh yeah, ooh, that's a nice width. Now, resizer.vertical makes me think that this is what's being used to resize things vertically. Resizer.horizontal, that also makes me think this was copy and pasted because we don't have any horizontal resizers. We just have the vertical ones. Why is this yelling? I'm just going to go to React split pane, the GitHub repo. Is there like a CSS? Oh, here we go. Yep, there it is. So a few things to change here. We don't need these prefixes, because our auto prefixer settings that come with JockeySource should do that for us. And even if they didn't, I'm pretty sure box sizing and background clip are supported in all major browsers now. So we don't need like -WebKit to -transition. So we don't need horizontal also. And that's about it. Cursor call resize, that's a nice little thing. However, in our CSS, we generally use our CSS variables for things. If I go to, here we go, var main playground color, var playground secondary color, etc. And that's because the site has a dark mode. And if I undo all changes and reset, the resizers are not super visible in dark mode. Shout out in the chat if you really like dark mode, because I can't stand it for our website, but often use it as my editor. Yeah, so this is just a copy paste that we're going to have to update. You're going to want to use, this is going to need to use CSS variables for color values. Love dark mode. Well, can't argue with you there, but yeah. It's I think really interesting how accessibility with color works. It's literally impossible to make a universally accessible site because sometimes people need different things. Some people need dark mode because light's too bright for them. Some people need light mode because dark mode is too dark for them. Some people need high contrast. Some people need low contrast. It's a whole thing. Also, hi, Alex. Thanks for coming. Thanks for chatting and watching. Yeah. Colorblind mode. Yeah. Some people prefer modes or need modes that are super duper high contrast. Let me see. Whoa, that's a bug on production or on the editor. What is happening? Why is it that on production the editor color mode works, but on this branch locally it doesn't? What is happening? Something is Something is different. What? Oh, and now it's working again? On the deploy preview? I'm so confused. This must be like a local thing. Oh, it must be that my broken services were broken. Okay, fine, whatever. Whatever. Anyway. Color. Aha. Yeah, there's a high contrast theme in Monaco. Fun fact. It's not super obvious here. Let me see if I can trigger it. There we go. In dark mode, it's like more visible. Some people need this. Some people find the high contrast to be like visually jarring. Like this would actually prevent me from being able to use code. So accessibility is not a one size fits all thing. Right. Anyway, what was I doing? Oh yeah, dark mode with the resizers. So they're going to need to use CSS variables for color values the way other CSS files in the website do. Oh yeah, Vim is very high contrasty by default, the way many people use it. It hurts my eyes. I used to be a Vim person years and years ago back in school and haven't gone back into it since. Or maybe it was Emacs. Okay. We synchronize the color theme using them, and also they make dark mode support a lot easier, which is a bug right now. Smile. Oops, I keep pressing the wrong thing. What? Oh my god. Whoa. I didn't know that Playground had that feature. I clicked something and it dragged me over. Can't see the resizers in dark mode. Screenshot of dark mode grid resizing in the playground with not visible black on black resizers. Cool. I spy copy pasta. Smile. Spaghetti. Let me just copy paste the link to the example styling. There you go. These styles are fine to start with, but a few changes to make in addition to using our CSS variables. Homie hello! Good to see you on stream again. Homie provided excellent feedback. I was on a stream yesterday and did a practice talk for WebVR Karaoke. Sup? Few changes to make. We don't need Moz or dash WebKit. Prefixes. They're supported by browsers, by stable browser versions now. And we have auto prefixing set up anyway, I'm pretty sure. Thank you, I appreciate you saying that. I think I did okay. We don't have any horizontal resizers, so that CSS can be removed altogether. All right, so that's the split pane resize.css. Looks good to me. Oh yeah, also I wanted to see, does split pane take in like a class name prop? Doesn't look like it. Let me try in TypeScript. Because I generally prefer, yeah. We use CSS modules everywhere else. So resize our class name. Here we go. I'd rather use CSS modules here also. We use CSS modules elsewhere. So it's, I don't know, jarring. Split pane components can take in class name and resizer class name props. So let's use those and switch this file to CS modules. All right, and that's enough for that file. Loaded editor we already looked at, editor types, the patch, and yarn lock. Awesome. This is looking great. Thanks. And I mean it, like this really is looking great. I'm very pleased with this PR. Just a couple things to fix up. The CSS, just a couple bugs to fix up. Using a resize observer or equivalent. Similar would be swell, but I'm fine to just file that as a cleanup for later. Yay! Sometimes people ask, Josh, why does open source move so slow? Why doesn't TypeScript-ESLint do everything that we've always wanted quickly? Well, I've been on stream for almost an hour and reviewed a single pull request. That's why. It takes a while to do code things. Now, you can make the argument that I probably shouldn't have spent this long on the pull request. But this playground is like a core part of our website. It's important for me to both understand the code and to make sure it's easy to develop for people in the future. Eventually, we'll probably refactor it. It's only on the V1 right now, or maybe V1.1, arguably. So it's important that I spend the time needed to understand what goes into the code base. Also, it's a good teaching thing. Like, I don't know what Jimsu's 2012's current status is, but some people who contribute use open source as a way to learn things. So maybe I'm being helpful that way. Anyway, that's one pull request down. I feel pretty good about this as a stopping point because it's been an hour and I'm getting tired, my back hurts, and I want to go home. So I'm going to say thank you all for watching. I'm going to hang on for a few more minutes just to clean stuff up. But if you have any questions, things you want to talk about, please let me know. I'm always happy to chat. Also, let me know if there's someone I should raid in a minute or two. That would be good to know. Maybe I'll stick on for the raid this time. And also just a quick scan. I know I have like a bunch of issues and pull requests that are pending, but I have a couple of nice little queries here. Nothing new's popped up. Yeah, some of these I want to review, but like this thing is going to take forever, so I don't have time. Next stream schedule. I do have a schedule. If you go on Twitch, I don't know if this is what you're asking, but I have a schedule set up. Where's the... Whoa. How do you get to your schedule from the current... Anyway, it's Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, 10:30 a.m. Eastern on Thursdays. Luke or Semantics? Clicked my name. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. There it is. It's really jarring that the schedule thing here is horizontal orientation. I'm so used to the Google Calendar, everyone else's calendar style vertical. Yeah. All right. Semantics is one of my favorite people, so I'm going to do that. So, all right. I'm going to start the raid in 10 seconds. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. I'll post this on YouTube soon and the link on Twitter. This was a pleasure. Bye for now.